All right. Welcome to our first ever podcast. Podcast. Can tell we're amateurs, so. And this installment we're going to be talking about the cinematic classic Citizen Kane. I'm Liam Shelley, and sitting here with me, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello. My name is Majid Al-Mustafa Shelley. I'm Liam's brother-in-law. Actually hoping to attend classes at National Community College this summer.
Yep. So, as mentioned earlier, we just saw Citizen Kane Majid for his first time.
Yep.
And if you'd like to share some quick thoughts on the film.
I thought the film was very interesting, and inherently with it being a mystery, it was somewhat confusing at parts, but everything sort of came together in at least some way at the end.
Oh yes.
I thought the loose ends were tied pretty nice.
Oh yes, definitely. I just liked how it was in a traditional mystery where in most cases it's either a stolen item or a murder. Mm-hmm. In this case, it's simply trying to figure out
someone's last words.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The cryptic last words, Rosebud. Yep. A line so iconic that even if you've never seen the film, you've heard that line before.
You've heard the line Rosebud before.
Oh, yes.
One thing that I noticed in the movie that, I mean, I'm not that great at picking up symbolism personally, but one thing I noticed, which was somewhat obvious now that I think about it, is the fact that that scene where they show Kane's second wife, Singer,
Alexandra?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Singer, sorry, excuse me. They show her completing a puzzle, and it's almost finished. And it was just a nice nod to the fact that the film was, like,
nearing its conclusion,
which, builds suspense to, like, are we going to find out soon what Rosebud means, or what's going on? How are we going to find out, It just builds excitement.
Oh, yeah. And I personally love how the globe that shatters at the beginning acts as both a red herring and as a hint.
Yes.
Because
that's very neat.
Near the end, you look at it and he says, Rosebud, you're like, so that's what it is. It's a globe that he has sentimental attachment to.
Yeah, and then the sort of kind of plot twist at the end
is that the globe wasn't Rosebud. It was a reminder of his old house in Colorado, where he had a sled being his favorite thing in the world, called Rosebud.
Which, when you think about it, is also, like, foreshadowing when they show you the snow globe, because at first all you know about Rosebud is it's something that he says as his last word when he dies. But then, when you see the sled in the fire, you say, oh, I see. Okay, now that makes sense that it was a snow globe. Regardless of whether or not it was his house in Colorado, it was a snowing globe, and you use sleds when you snow.
Oh,
and that was pretty much the last time that he was, like, happy as a kid.
Oh, yes.
And so that was... I thought that was very foreshadowing.
Oh, yes. Speaking of the film's strengths, I also love its use of symbolism. Mm-hmm. As I pointed out, when the titular Citizen Kane first enters the newspaper office for the first time, not only see the tallest guy in the room, but he's also nearly touching the ceiling, because in that area of the film, Citizen Kane is like a larger-than-life figure, which holds up pretty well, because Citizen Kane as a movie is a larger-than-life film.
That's true, especially for the time when it was released, 1941, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And later on in the film...
You also picked up on something else that paralleled.
Oh, yes. Near the end, when he's talking to his wife when she's first putting together a puzzle, his second wife, his architecture and statues tower over him, making him look small and insignificant, showing that this larger-than-life figure is as small as any other human being.
Exactly. And I would also add that, just naturally them showing how big and tall and kind of macho man he is at the very beginning, it is a kind of a way to signal the progression of the film as well, to show, how big he was in the movie, like at the beginning, and then, his downward spiral, his deterioration towards the end that makes him so small that he just essentially allows his wife to walk out on him.
Yeah.
Because she's just unhappy.
Oh, yeah. He was basically controlling her throughout
their marriage.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh, we have a guest here. Hello there.
Hello there, guest.
What are your thoughts on Citizen Kane?
Oh, the guest decides not to speak.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry.
Where were we?
We were talking about how Kane was a manipulative husband.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see that with his first wife, too.
Oh, yes.
How he cheated on her, basically, with his second wife, and then, it's... now that I think about it, also, the fact that he cheated on his first wife with his second wife, and then his second wife just leaves him, is also a blow to his ego that, diminishes him to where he ended up being towards the end with this meltdown, and he was breaking everything in the room.
Oh, yeah. It's like... And I feel sorry for Susan Alexander, his second wife. Because all she did was mention to him once that she always wanted to be an opera singer, which is like something people always dream of. Like, you want to be a movie star, but you never actually think about what it would take and how much pressure you'd be under. And all of a sudden, when she essentially marries the richest man in America,
right,
who literally buys her everything she ever wants, suddenly she's under a lot of pressure from the public to be something she's not.
That's exactly right. And, what was I going to say? Excuse me. Yeah, no, that thought just flew away.
I get that.
It was also now I remember what I was going to say. It also kind of tricks you at the beginning of their relationship to see what she says about her singing opera, about how her mom wanted her to do it, but then she didn't want to do it.
Oh, I missed that part.
He essentially controlled her just as much as her mother did.
Yeah.
Which is the first sign that you see, basically, that he's manipulative and that he hasn't changed from one woman to another.
Yeah, because you don't notice that because, like, the tone of the scene makes it seem like a regular old romance.
Yeah, exactly.
Scene of the time.
And it also almost confuses you into thinking that she wanted to do... The dialogue was very vague in terms of how it described her relationship with her mom. At least to me, It seemed as though she was saying, I wanted to do it, but my mother controlled me and decided that I couldn't. And then when he said that, she kind of... She thought about all the opportunities that it would bring her, but she didn't think about the psychological damage that it would bring.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought that was also neat symbolism and character development. And,
yeah. To put it into perspective, most opera singers practice like decades of their lives just to be in one of the shows, much less being the starring role.
Fun fact, in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, to play the main female character, what's her name?
I have not watched...
Christine, I believe. You have to be trained in that specific style of opera for at least 2 years before you can even qualify to send in an audition tape, and for the directors of the show and the casting people to meet you so that you can get the role to play.
Yeah,
and it just gives you perspective to think about how hard opera is, especially even nowadays with all these advancements that we've had since 1941 to 2021. 70 years.
Oh,
No,
wow.
more than 70 years. 80 years.
Oh, that's a good observation because the character Susan Alexandra, she was trained
Yeah.
as being a lounge singer essentially.
Yeah.
So it'd be like you going be like from college football to the NFL, like a stunt quarterback in an NFL team.
In like 0.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was way too much, way too fast, and she clearly wasn't ready. She clearly didn't want it, and it ended up being a dark scene that I didn't pick up on until our second go through.
Yeah.
Because of the haste code, we didn't pick up that the main reason that she was sick is because she purposely took the wrong medicine.
Right, to attempt suicide, unfortunately.
Yeah, because of the haste code, they couldn't say it directly, and
Right.
hence why it's presented like, oh, she got sick because of the stress, but because of that one-off line about, oh, she must have been confused and took the wrong medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and actually works to the film's benefit because it shows just how manipulative Kane is at that time.
And how manipulated she was that she just couldn't tell one thing from another.
Yes,
That's a very common symptom or way to know that someone's being abused or manipulated, basically taken advantage of, is that they can't make decisions for themselves. They don't know right from wrong in a way.
Yes, I just realized that she basically becomes the main character in the third act, and we're only really introduced to her halfway through.
That's true. And he is the main character, Kane.
Yes, he is.
But he another thing that I didn't even notice until now was just how diminished he is as a character throughout the movie.
Yes.
You know, just like he's this big important figure. Like, what was his last words? He must be someone important if we want to know his last words this badly. And then the focus kind of shifts on to the people that he's mistreating. Like his friend, what was his name? The drunk?
Jeb?
Yeah. No.
Jebediah. I think so.
The one that was on the typewriter sleeping?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just how badly he mistreated him for writing a bad review about his wife.
A bad review that he didn't even finish.
Exactly.
Kane finished the review and probably said the harshest words in it.
Yeah.
Just to give a false sense of superiority, even though his actions up till then, promising to write a good review from the paper, shows otherwise.
Right.
Kane was basically just trying to prove that he was someone he wasn't.
Exactly. And I think that was probably the moment that she realized, I need to get out of this situation.
Oh, yeah.
Because after the review, she had a meltdown. She was like,
yeah.
You promised me a good review, what the hell?
Yeah. And at that point, she was dangerously close to becoming an heiress.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully the film doesn't push her that far because she's basically the most likable person in the film.
That's true. And
yeah.
The whole point of the film is how power corrupts you, basically. Because he comes from nothing, becomes something, and then slowly dwindles back into nothing.
Oh, yes.
Except for his name.
Yeah.
Know?
And even when he was nothing, he was still happy.
Yeah.
Because the one and only time we see him happy is when he's playing with Rosebud.
With his sled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, we've come to our end.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me for this review. No problem. And we'll see each other next time.
Yep.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.